Jābs Group, thank you. It is in our directive principles of state policy. And so we have an obligation to continue projects that were started by the previous government. From the Rawlings time, projects that were started by Rawlings were continued by Kufuor. In Professor Mills's time, projects that were started by Kufuor were continued by Professor Mills. Projects that were awarded to contractors and that Kufuor Get Fund continued to pay and certify certificates and pay them for the work done. The only exception with President Kufuor's administration and ours was that they started a gang of 6 road projects. If you remember, we called some road project a gang of 6. And even though they initiated the projects, there was no dedicated funding to continue them. But what did we do? Professor Mills made us do budgetary allocation for each of those projects. One is the Telepashi to Adenka road that we now pass on without remembering what it was like. Another is the road from Achimota Brewery all the way through to John Tay School. There were 6 of them. One was the Swami Interchange. And I can assure you that when we came into office, we continued and completed all of them. When NDC came into office, the Swami Interchange was only 32% complete. By the time we left office, it was almost 90% complete. All that was left was the extension to the WAPA formulation, which this government is continuing. There was also the affordable housing project that was started. And what we did was, because government did not have the money to complete the project, we handed over the flats to SHC, State Housing Company, and to SNET. And because of that policy of handing it over to SNET, Moteman is completed and is occupied. We also gave them the Kumasi affordable housing to complete, but I think SNET ran out of funds or something. But I stated clearly that when I come into office, we're going to do an inventory of all those abandoned and uncompleted projects. And in every year's budget, we're going to make budgetary allocation for completing them. And like I said, we're not going to be in a hurry to start new projects when we have all these uncompleted projects that have been abandoned. I mean, for instance, take the Agenda 111 hospitals. I said that it would have been more prudent to start, say, 40 of them and finish them. And then you can start, continue another 20 and finish them and continue. But you start 88 hospitals at once, all over the country. And recently, the Agenda 111 secretary says they can only finish 20 before they leave office. So it means that 68 hospitals are going to be left to President Mahama to come and complete. And so we must also look at the prudence of how we start projects in terms of completion. And then we look at. So we'll be in a hurry to start new projects. The little money we have, we will make budgetary allocation in every year's budget to continue and finish those projects. There's a particular problem with the projects in the education sector. You go to many secondary schools, they are half completed dining halls, half completed dormitory blocks, half completed classroom blocks, laboratories and everything. These were projects that were awarded by the Get Fund. This government has collateralized 60% of the income of the Get Fund in what they call the Dachi bond. And they have taken that money up front And so now, with the Get Fund levy that we pay, only 40% of the revenue is available to Get Fund to continue these projects. And that is the hindrance that has stalled most of the projects in the secondary schools. And that's why children don't have dormitories to sleep in, they don't have classrooms to study in. And so I made a statement and I said that the Dachi bond should be added to the debt restructuring so that it can free up, and we should add it to the public debt so that it can free up the flows of the Get Fund to continue and finish all the projects that the Get Fund has awarded in all the various schools that we have around. And so we'll prioritize the completion of ongoing and abandoned projects rather than starting new projects. National Cathedral, I've spoken about this before. For me, the National Cathedral was a covenant somebody made with God. An individual swore to God that if he became president, he would build a cathedral for him. And so, from my perspective, it is his promise to build a house for God. And I don't know if God asked him for a house, you know. I'm sure that if he really had asked God what God would want him to do with $400 million, I don't think God would have chosen a cathedral. I don't think God would have chosen a cathedral when $400 million could have provided textbooks for all our students in school. I don't think God would have chosen a cathedral when He would have provided hostels in our universities for our students to have a place to stay. I don't think God would have asked you to build Him a cathedral when we would have used that money to dualize the road from here to Cape Coast and prevent accidents. People die every day on that road because it's a single lane road. And so, God didn't ask for it, somebody promised it to God. And so if, a correction, I meant Soko line interchange, not Swami interchange, and so it was a personal promise. And if I have 400 million, God will be angry with me if I use it to build that cathedral. So, I'm not going to take taxpayers 400 million. We're not Christians alone in this country. They are Muslims, they are Buddhists, they are African traditional religionists, and all of them contribute to taxes. And so I don't think that one religion, we as Christians, should take taxpayers' money that is paid by Muslims and Buddhists and African traditional religionists and build a cathedral for ourselves. The Muslims built their national mosque, and as far as I know, not one cedi of the government of Ghana taxpayers' money went into the mosque. And so when we come, we'll do consultation with Ghanaians or even with the Christian community, what we want to do with regards to a cathedral. If it's a priority, then we must go look for the money and build it. But I'm not as president going to use any public funds to build a cathedral. The basic principle that underlies scholarships is that one, the course the student is going to do is not available in Ghana. Or it is a priority course where we do not have enough capacity to train students. And so those are the principles that we look at. I mean, if you want to do an MBA, there are so many schools doing MBA in Ghana today. Why should somebody go abroad to go and do an MBA and be paid for by Ghanaian taxpayers' money? If you want to go and do a Harvard MBA, for heaven's sake, pay for it yourself. And so we must stick by the rules and regulations for which scholarships are awarded. For instance, in our time, we gave a lot of scholarships to go to Scotland. Many Ghanaian students went to Scotland because we had started the beginning of oil production. And we did not have enough expertise in oil production. And so in the 4 years that I was in office, actually the 8 years from Professor Milson's time, we skewed a lot of the scholarships to students who are going to learn petroleum sector, oil management, accounting, oil sector law, and so on and so forth. And there are many students who got those scholarships and are back here in Ghana and working. And so we must draw the lines. We must have a minister like Nana Jenopokwa Jimanga who will make sure that the scholarships were being given for scholarships that are relevant to the human resource development of this country. And again, the scholarships must go to underprivileged people, young people who come from backgrounds that do not have the capacity to sponsor them. And so again, the social construct of the person's origin should be taken before a scholarship is given. I mean, there are many of us who can afford to pay the fees of our children if we decide that they should go to university abroad. And so we have no business going to the scholarship secretariat and asking for scholarships for our children. And so we will have a person superintending the scholarship secretariat that will make sure that the guidelines are implemented and that those getting the scholarships are deserving of those scholarships. Misguided policies, yes, and he mentioned one. You bring a new curriculum, the children have no textbooks in basic school for the last 4 years, and you think that giving pre-tertiary students laptops, tablets, is more important. Of course, everybody knows the political experience. Some of them are coming 18 years and above, some are 18 already, and they're going to be the ones voting. So this is a gift to entice them to vote for the current government. Otherwise, if you're using 1.3 billion cedis to give pre-tertiary students laptop, our priority would have been different. There are other things begging for funding in our educational system than those laptops. But it's a bribe for them to vote for this government. But I mean, the children do not exist in isolation. They live in households and families. Some of them's parents are those who are working in the banking sector that you cruelly closed 9 indigenous banks and threw them all out onto the streets. Bankers have become Uber drivers. Those are the same people whose children are in pre-tertiary education. So you think if you give your child a tablet, the child will vote for you after what you have done to their parents? Most of those children go home and their parents struggle to put a meal on the table for them because of your poor mismanagement of this economy. And you think that just giving the child a tablet is enough to buy their conscience to vote for you? I don't think so. The children should take the tablets, but they should remember that we cannot stand another 4 years of this poor driver Banza and his driver's mate. And then he spoke about health professionals. NDC believes in opening the capacity for training of health professionals. And we believe in providing opportunities for them to work. And that's why we're building the community-day secondary school so that we could employ more teachers. And that's why we're building hospitals so that we could employ more nurses and more health professionals. Let us produce enough to feed ourselves, but also to export. If you listen to me, I said there's nothing wrong with migration of health workers. Indeed, when we come into office, we will sign contracts with countries. Philippines have done it. Philippines have signed contracts with countries in the Middle East and other places in Europe, and they export their nurses and caregivers to those countries on fixed-term contracts. So you get a 5-year contract to go and work in a country. A small percentage of your income is remitted back to the country. But you also gain experience, and after 5 years when you come back, you have more experience than you would have been probably if you were working at home. And while you are there, you will be remitting money back home to your parents. And that is a very huge source of foreign currency. As I speak to you today, Philippines gets $30 billion from its professionals working abroad. These are doctors, these are nurses, these are healthcare professionals, these are engineers, seamen. Philippines has the most seamen on all the ships in this world. and all of them are earning money and sending it back. We have the Maritime University here. Why don't we open it up and train more Ghanaian youth as seamen and put them on ships to work? And so, as part of our employment ministry's obligation to deal with labor affairs and also to deal with employment matters, they will also have a desk where we sign agreements with other countries that need professionals to come and work. And we'll send our professionals there to go and work, gain experience, gain money, and come back home. Sanitation. We will close down the Ministry of Sanitation. Our country is dirtier than when there was no Ministry of Sanitation. Was a local government schedule back to local government. Indeed, because we want to reduce government expenditure, it's not only the sanitation ministry. In transport, aviation and railways, we're going to close them down and send them back to the transport ministry. We're going to combine communications and information again. And so we want to reduce the number of ministries. And so with cleanliness, we think that it is a duty of the district assemblies. Every assembly has an obligation to make sure that its district is clean. And so we must decentralize sanitation to the district level. And it must be a criteria of performance for the district chief executive. That it will come to your district and your district is dirty. That is one of the performance indicators. And so when we're going to change district chief executive, if you have a dirty district, we will remove you and bring somebody who can make sure that the district is clean. Our problem as a nation is we're not holding people accountable. The district chief executive is giving allowances, is giving a house, is giving a car, and the district is his responsibility. And so he must make sure, if he goes around his district and there's a dirty place, he must make sure that it is clean. But because we don't hold them accountable, everybody just gets away with murder. So it will be a performance criteria. We'll send an independent team around to the districts and they will mark you. If your district is dirty, they will give you a negative mark. And when it comes to reshuffling a district chief executive, you will be shown your performance. This is what you did. Your district was dirty. You did not provide social services. You built only one primary school. We wanted you to build 2 primary schools. You built only 1. You have a performance criteria on which you will be judged. It will be scientific. You won't assume that somebody has victimized you because you see that you yourself did not perform. And when you are going to the district, we'll tell you what we want to see. And if you don't meet it, we will remove you and bring somebody who can do it. And so that's it.
Thank you very much. The president today. As president, His Excellency made tremendous contributions to development in this country, in all sectors of the economy and in all sectors of national life. And well, once again, he's here contesting to lead this country, and let us hope that Ghanaians will remember all this. Former President Mahama is an avid reader.